Number 10. Culborson. While the Serpent is not as powerful by himself, like Darkseid, he doesn't usually come alone. During Fear itself, he recruited his own allies when he activated the Hammers of the Worthy, who found their own hosts, causing global chaos and destruction, and giving the villains and corrupted heroes who wielded those hammers immense power. Culborson is Thor's uncle, who was imprisoned by his own brother Odin, and craves power that he claims was rightfully his before he was locked away. Fear gives him strength, and while Darkseid might not be afraid of him, there are plenty people on Earth who could power him up with their fear were he to return. Inevitably, Thor did defeat the Serpent, but it cost him his life at the time, and all the heroes of Earth were still kinda needed to come together in the fight against all the fear that Culborson's return had unleashed on the world. Number 9. Vulcan. Vulcan has a great darkness that seems to be permanently lurking within him, which generally leads to him going berserk when it comes to how he approaches attacking, or more specifically, decimating, usually, his enemies. Vulcan is known as Gabriel Summers, the youngest Summers brother of the three. In the past, he has also been known as the Emperor of the warrior race known as the Shi'ar, and is an Omega level mutant. When it comes to energy manipulation and generation, he's probably the most powerful of the three brothers, just based on his sheer power levels alone. Vulcan even went toe-to-toe with one of the most powerful characters in Marvel, Adam Warlock, who at the time had joined up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and yeah, Vulcan kicked his butt pretty effortlessly, looking super evil all the while, by the way. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, just a quick reminder, if you love lists like this and you want to see us pit, I don't know, maybe even more Marvel villains against Darkseid, although yeah, Darkseid is pretty powerful. Please be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up and commenting below. Number 8. Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom definitely has the prowess to defeat Darkseid. While he might not be powerful enough initially to defeat Darkseid, Doom is well known for his determination and for going to great lengths to achieve things that most would tell him were basically not possible. He's kind of like the person that also comes in the Marvel Universe to solve problems that seem otherwise unsolvable, even when we have like all of the geniuses on it. He has masterful plans, and I believe that if Doom had to go up against Darkseid, he would find the power that he needed to defeat Darkseid. We've seen him take power from plenty of insanely powerful people in comics and video games before, like Kilgrave, Odin, the Beyonders, Scarlet Witch, and Molecule Man. I'm just saying, people are definitely going to be like, yeah, but Dr. Doom isn't already at that power level, and I'm going to be like, yeah, well, Dr. Doom's great, so he wins, that's it. It's all coming up Doom, baby. Number 7. Enchantress. Enchantress is vastly powerful when it comes to her magics. She's one of the most powerful magic users in all of Asgard and within the Marvel multiverse. And even though she's a magic user, which are typically known for being pretty squishy in general, she is surprisingly strong because she's also Asgardian. Enchantress has been shown to seduce a number of men with her charms and beauty, except for those with the strongest will. She is trained with various Asgardian magicians and even was Carnilla's student at one point. She can conjure up magic strong enough to destroy a god, though weirdly not strong enough to destroy Vision. Android loophole, I guess. She's easily defeated other immensely powerful magic users, and I'm sure that if she and Darkseid faced off, she'd prove that Enchantress should never be underestimated in battle. Number 6. Genesis / Annihilation. Genesis is the wife of Apocalypse, and as such will be his stand-in for this list. While there are some who compare the all-powerful might of Darkseid and Apocalypse to one another, also I mean they look pretty similar just in terms of character design, there is a character even more powerful than Apocalypse who I believe, based on the comparison of DC and Marvel's characters, could pose an even greater threat to the new god. That of course is Genesis. We met Genesis and came to know her as a foe over the course of the Ten of Swords event during the Otherworld tournament. She was one of the chosen champions of Morocco who fought in that tournament. Genesis received a power-up as the avatar for the Elder God of Amenth, known at the time as Annihilation. But even without her mask and without that title, Genesis was still shown to be an Omega level mutant more powerful than her husband. So if we're comparing Darkseid to Apocalypse, I think Genesis is, I'm just saying, I think she might be more powerful. Number 5. Gorr. It's all in the name for Gorr. Darkseid is known as a new god, and Gorr is the god butcher, so I think you can imagine how this might go down. Gorr fights wielding the all-black Necrosword, a symbiote and weapon created by Null. Gorr can use this weapon to devour his enemies from the inside out, basically. It's pretty gross. This kind of inside out attack with the all black has been shown before to be powerful enough for him to defeat even an immortal Asgardian hero like Thor, and fairly easily too. What's more, the all black that Gorr wields is also powerful enough to slice through the sun and the moon as well. Now that is one sharp and deadly blade. When armed with the all black, Gorr also becomes virtually immortal, as though he weren't resilient and strong enough on his own. Even if you kill him through the all black, he can basically return, making him indestructible and pretty much undefeatable. How can you defeat someone if you can't actually get rid of them, you know what I mean? I don't know. Number 4, Galactus. I mean, let's just talk about the sheer size of Galactus to begin with, and already we're making a pretty good case for him taking the fight, in my opinion. Galactus is the devourer of worlds, and Darkseid could be the inhibitor of a world that Galactus would end up destroying. Even when Galactus is hungry, his strength is pretty great. He has been shown as being able to engage in a fight with the Phoenix even while in such a state, which, I mean, I wouldn't expect him to win because Phoenix, but I also think that is immensely impressive given how powerful the Phoenix and Phoenix Force is in general. Number 3, Null. Null is shown as being one of the biggest bads currently in the Marvel Universe with the King in Black event, and he has proven time and time again just how hard it is to stop him. He's relentless, doesn't give up, doesn't back down, and is very hard to actually kill or injure. Like Darkseid, he also likes to raise worlds, but he has symbiotic dragons and is known for being one of the galaxy's oldest evils. Null is basically darkness incarnate, so while I believe that watching a fight between these two would be very exciting and interesting to read, in the end I would personally be betting on Null to come out victorious. Number 2, Dark Phoenix. Obviously, Dark Phoenix is one of the most powerful villains we've ever seen in the Marvel Universe, and as such is definitely someone who could mess up Darkseid. Dark Phoenix has destroyed entire worlds and could reshape all of reality if they wanted to, especially when we're talking about the powerful marriage of the Phoenix Force and its often most desired perfect host, Jean Grey. When Jean goes dark, you definitely want to watch out. And even Darkseid should be shaken in his boots if that version of Phoenix and Jean comes a-knockin'. I mean, we should all be shaking in our boots, really. Number 1, the Beyonder. Initially, the Beyonder wasn't even from the Marvel multiverse that we have come to know, but another multiverse completely separate. In that multiverse, the Beyonder was everything, and everything was him, making him pretty much the god of that multiverse. A hole into our multiverse was created when Owen Reese experienced the accident that turned him into Molecule Man, and it was through this hole the Beyonder became aware of this Marvel multiverse, and basically decided ultimately to come on over and to mess with it. At least that was the initial backstory. Later on his story would be altered somewhat, and we learned that there was actually an entire race of Beyonders, but either way the Beyonder remains one of the most powerful villains around at Marvel, especially in those older days, considering that he is beyond multiversal and can with ease, and even sometimes without even intention, destroy multiple realities and reshape multiverses. Number 10, Ares. Ares was the one to actually wound Darkseid in the DCEU in Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League. Of course, this was back before Darkseid was calling himself Darkseid, back when he was Uaxis, and back when he was less powerful. But he was still a version of Darkseid, albeit a younger one, and Ares still beat him fair and square in a one-on-one combat. In fact, he beat him so badly that he was forced to retreat, and eventually his armies fell and the whole invasion was forced to retreat as well as a result of his defeat. Now, it is important to note that in our flashback to this moment, we also see that Darkseid was likely weakened not just by Ares, but by the armies of Earth prior to Ares' attack on him. So yeah, it was kinda one-on-one, but before that it was like a bunch of people on one. However, Ares is also the god of war, so when going toe-to-toe with him, facing armies as well is just kinda the norm. Number 9, Solaris. Solaris might stand a chance against Darkseid, considering he's literally just a sentient sun. Typically his beef is with Superman, but if there were a reason for Solaris to take on Darkseid, I'm sure he'd stand a pretty good chance of beating him in a fight. It would be his intense radiation and laser beams versus Darkseid's Omega beams. Considering that Solaris is also an adaptable villain who can scan and process an attack and then use that information to create a powerful defense against it, this also means there are very few attacks that happen to be powerful enough to destroy him, unless you can destroy him outright with that first attack. This is also why Solaris makes such a great recurring villain. Maybe Darkseid would beat him even the first time around, but Solaris would likely still survive because he's just so resilient and indestructible, and he'd likely return years later for a rematch. And before we move on to this next spot, if you are enjoying this list and you want more lists like it, be sure to show us some love by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. NEKRON. NEKRON is the embodiment of death, an extra-dimensional being who often seeks to conquer the universe. He has attempted to do so a few times and failed, but during Blackest Night we saw him come fairly close to accomplishing his goal. If not for the presence of the White Lantern, he would have likely succeeded. During that event we also saw NEKRON's power level boosted, turning him into a massive threat to not just Earth but all of the universe. The other thing is that NEKRON is a constant and as such can't really be permanently killed at any point. As long as death exists, he technically must exist as well. Even without the boost to his power levels that we saw in Blackest Night, NEKRON has still managed to take hits from the Anti-Monitor without so much as flinching. That's just how untouchable he is. Number 7. Superboy Prime. Just because Superman can't take Darkseid alone doesn't mean that another version of the character couldn't stand a fighting chance. Superboy Prime, or Superman Prime as he is often referred to now, might not have the physical strength, but it could be possible that he could manipulate reality to make Darkseid weaker or even cause him to just not exist. How? With just a punch. There was a time in the comics where Superboy Prime was shown to be so strong that he punched reality, splintering it and in essence reshaping it. If Superboy Prime has the power to punch retcons into existence, what can't he do? Number 6. Volthoom. Volthoom is the very first Lantern who, after receiving the very first Lantern ring from the Guardians of the Universe, turned dark, losing control of all the emotions within himself. Or maybe he was a little dark even before that. He killed millions of people and enjoys sowing discord and creating chaos. At one point he also almost succeeded in taking hold of the universe and reshaping it in his own image. It took the collective power of Parallax Sinestro, NEKRON, and a Black Lantern Hal Jordan to stop him. He can warp reality, manipulate time, and has increased durability. He's taken on an army of Black Lanterns all by himself and at one point was powerful enough to hold the universe in his hand. I'm pretty sure if there is anyone who could take on Darkseid solo, it would be Volthoom. Number 5. STARRO the Conqueror. STARRO is a frightening enemy. Not only is there the potential for STARRO to simply take hold of Darkseid and use him as a pawn, which we have actually seen pictured in the Future State Justice League series in issue 1, but you can have a STARRO that could be up to thousands of miles across. Their sizes greatly vary, meaning that you could have a STARRO simply capable of crushing Darkseid if it wanted to. Though honestly, taking his mind hostage and using him as a weapon for its own purpose is a far more terrifying prospect. Not just for our heroes, but I imagine for Darkseid as well. Number 4. The Darkest Night. I never thought I'd consider Batman Who Laughs to be such a powerful threat, but after he took the brain of final Bruce Wayne, who basically had the powers of Dr. Manhattan, he became one of the most powerful beings in the universe. True, he was defeated by Wonder Woman, but if we can imagine a scenario outside of Dark Knight's death metal, where with his newly acquired power he squared off with Darkseid, it would be easy to see how he could win against that villain. With Dr. Manhattan's abilities, there would be almost no feat of power too great for him to accomplish. In his Darkest Night form, the Batman Who Laughs became invulnerable and immortal, which would also make it very hard for Darkseid to not only wound him, but defeat him as well. Number 3. Anti-Monitor. Many consider the Anti-Monitor to be one of DC's greatest threats. It usually comes down to either Anti-Monitor or Darkseid when you ask fans who is the most powerful and fearsome antagonist of the DC universe. The thing with Anti-Monitor is most of his stories have included threatening not just multiple worlds, but entire multiverses. So compared to Darkseid, he's generally on another scale. And not just in terms of threats and power, but also just in terms of actual size. Darkseid is typically shown as being an intimidating height, but only really in comparison to other superpowered beings and humans. He's like anywhere from a few feet taller to double their size. Anti-Monitor, on the other hand, is generally depicted as being hundreds of feet tall, so unless we are giving Darkseid a major boost to his size, Anti-Monitor could just squish him like a bug. Of course, we did give Darkseid a major boost to his size when the two fought, but even then Darkseid ended up dying. Of course, it wasn't Anti-Monitor who caused his apparent death, but it still happened while they were fighting, so hey, I'm counting it. Number 2. Perpetua. Perpetua is also likely a character who could take Darkseid, considering that she has destroyed entire alternate Earths before and even managed to break the Source Wall. Pretty impressive and terrifying stuff. Perpetua, for those who don't know, is an agent of the Source who went rogue. Initially, she was on a mission of creation, but instead decided to turn to the side of chaos and destruction, with a plan to remake the multiverse in her own image. Some might think that Perpetua isn't so scary or strong, considering she has only been shown to destroy a single universe at a time. But in reality, when we saw her wreaking havoc in death metal, she was not yet back to her full strength. If Perpetua was back at her max strength of power, there's no telling just how much destruction she could bring about within an instant. Number 1. Trigon. In the animated film Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, we saw just what Trigon was capable of in the fight against Darkseid. And I know what you're thinking, how is Trigon more powerful than Perpetua, Amanda? But I'm giving this one to him because of this fight. Raven accidentally lost control of Trigon and set him loose on Apocalypse. Trigon in the film at least was shown to be strong enough to match Darkseid in power, if not beat him. Initially, that's because Trigon possessed Superman, using him as a host to fight Darkseid. But afterwards, Raven and Constantine team up to give Trigon back his own body, realizing that he is the key to defeating Darkseid, giving them enough time to escape back to Earth and enact Cyborg's plan to destroy Apocalypse. When Trigon gets his body back, he poses a very real threat to Darkseid, to the point that at one point Darkseid attempts to basically run away, but Trigon does not let him. As Apocalypse is destroyed, so are both of the villains, as Trigon holds Darkseid back, preventing him from fleeing. Which I love. I love that they fight and then Darkseid's like, I'm getting out of here, and Trigon's like, oh no, we're going together.
Number 10. His origins. He made his first debut in the world of comics back in 1970 in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, issue 134. He was born into the royal family of Apocalypse. He is a brutal dictator and he rules the planet. His main goal reaches further than just the planet. He actually wants to rule all of life in the universe, us included. Ooh. Now his creator Jack Kirby wanted him to be this horrible big brooding space leader, and I think it worked out pretty well. His first given name is Euxis, and like I said, he was royalty, so that's Prince Euxis, and he had a brother named Drax. They were both sons of King Yuga Khan and Queen Hegra. Drax was the cool peaceful brother, and Euxis, well, he had a different mindset growing up, you could say. And before we go on to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be great because it really does wonders for us here at our channel. Thank you so much for hitting that thumbs up. Now let's go back to some more Darkseid facts. Number 9. Name day. So what made Darkseid into this almighty powerful evil being? Well, he started out as the jerk brother, and then one day when Drax was trying to make a connection to the Omega realm and take his god name, mean brother Euxis came around and interrupted the whole thing, Kanye West style, and then he took the power all for himself. What a jerk. Now the worst part in all of this, yeah, it does get worse I guess than your own brother, going away forever. The worst part is that when he took the power, his brother Drax didn't survive the process, supposedly. Then when Euxis came out of the chrysalis that formed around his body, he took on the name of Darkseid, the most feared in all of the god names. No one else dared to take his name. It's kind of like see, I can't even say it now. They'll bleep it out. I can't say that name. It's that bad. Number 8. Darkseid. What's a supervillain without a super sidekick? This is a crazy friendship, let me tell you that. Okay, so Darkseid is in the Snyder Cut Justice League, and we saw glimpses of him in the trailers, but just who is he to Darkseid? Why is he so close? Making his first debut in the Forever People issue 2, Darkseid met Darkseid back in his early Euxis days, when he traveled to New Genesis and he met a young man who was known to be peaceful in nature. He was a peaceful young man. So Euxis saw potential in him and released his pet bird. He then told this young man that his pet cat had eaten this bird and that he convinced this poor guy to punish the cat and bury it alive. Yeah, so sad, so wild and mean. And then the bird returned and this guy's like, Sorry, what? So the cat's gone, and the boy got so mad that he strangled the bird, and then that was the turning point for him. Now we got an evil sidekick who is Darkseid's most trusted advisor, and would probably refer to him as a friend. It's always nice to have friends, even if you're Darkseid, you know, we all need friends. We only see glimpses of him so far in the Snyder Cut trailer, but he looks pretty menacing off of just those clips. DCAU is an ancient new god and a member of the Apocalyptic Priests, being loyal to Darkseid, and he helped out Steppenwolf back in the original Justice League. Oh, who's Steppenwolf? Well, number 7, Uncle Steppenwolf. So he turned a peaceful guy into a non-peaceful guy, into an evil sidekick. But what if I told you he actually turned his uncle to the dark side as well? So part of his master plan to take out more rivals, Darkseid convinced his uncle, General Steppenwolf, to hunt down the new gods of New Genesis just because, you know, just for fun. Instead of fishing and bonding, nah, we're gonna go pick some fights with some new gods. See what happens, mix it up a little bit. So Darkseid went with his uncle and helped him out. Darkseid took out Avia, the wife of the ruler of New Genesis, Isaiah. So Isaiah in turn took out Uncle Steppenwolf, but fear not guys, fear not. Darkseid brought him back from the dead, and then that's when a war began between Apocalypse and the New Genesis. Number 6, Omega Effect. That symbol right there in the ground is the Omega symbol. That belongs to Darkseid, and it's basically the signature of the end times. Darkseid's chest also looks like that symbol as well, so you've probably seen it in some way, shape, or form. Darkseid got his powers from an energy called the Omega Effect, so he blasts these Omega beams out of his eyes. They're super cool looking red lasers that bounce off walls. It's insane. They look so good in live action as well. They can lock onto a target and make sure it never misses, and it disintegrates the target as well. Poof, gone. They are powerful enough to take down Kryptonians, they can destroy planets, and if you think that the Flash can outrun these beams, think again, my friend. They can catch up to speedsters, and his father could generate Omega beams as well, and Darkseid can of course resist those beams. Superman and Doomsday are the only beings that were able to survive the Omega beams. Cyborg Superman didn't do too bad as well. That sounds weird. Why does that sound so weird? Number 5, Omega Sanction. Another ability that was given to Darkseid with the Omega Effect was the Omega Sanction. It's also referred to as the Life Trap, and this sounds even worse than the death beams, to be honest. The death that is life, the Omega Sanction, when used on its victim, basically traps them in an endless loop of multiple lives, but each life lived is more depressing than the one before it. I feel like I'm on life 4 right now. I don't know, I just have a feeling. He used this on Batman in Final Crisis issue 6. And he's even used it on Superman. Number 4, the anti-life equation. The anti-life equation was a mathematical formula said to allow those who knew it to dominate the will of any sentient race. And it's the main goal of Darkseid's to achieve. It came around to comics with Forever People issue 5. And it was actually believed to have disappeared along with the death of Billion Dollar Bates. He took it to his grave in his mind, yet Darkseid still continued to search for it. DCAU ended up making clones of Billion Dollar Bates in order to access the equation. There were other goals with these clones as well. Like for example, the equation was supposed to be used for good. It was supposed to enforce goodwill among the population of Apocalypse and Earth, but the equation with Darkseid itself was against free will and voluntary goodwill, so now it's bad news bears. Number 3, Parademons. In the original Justice League, we got to see the Parademons in action. The Parademons came into the comics with New Gods issue 1, and they are genetically created in Apocalypse laboratories, and they serve as Darkseid's loyal, disgusting looking army. Like the Chitauri in Avengers, only more terrifying in every way. Whenever Darkseid was gonna claim a planet, usually he would send in these guys to sweep the area rid of anybody who dares stand in his way. And then he comes down to claim the planet himself with his big nasty fingers.
I have turned worlds to dust. All of existence shall be mine.
They're a gross looking army though. They come in swarms, they follow commands blindly, and in the Justice League film we see just where these things come from. They are other life forms that Darkseid defeated, and now their organic material is restructured into becoming a parademon. In the comics, their abilities are pretty awesome for a mindless horde. I mean, for starters, they have fire breath, and when they're in a pickle, they can just make themselves explode just to get out of it, you know? So if you're ever in a tough spot, just, you know, blow up. That's how you solve problems in the DC universe. Number 2, mother boxes. A mother box is also referred to as a change station. It is a perpetual energy matrix of apocalyptic origin, and back when Uncle Steppenwolf came to Earth during his invasion thousands of years ago, 3 mother boxes were left on Earth, so they were left in the safe company of Amazons, Atlanteans, and humans. Cyborg's creation in the Justice League movie showed us a mother box fusing itself to Victor's body, giving him the upgrade of a lifetime. Number 1, weakness. So after all of this basic knowledge about Darkseid and with him being the central villain in the Snyder Justice League, is there a way to win? Like when push comes to shove, do we actually have a chance against this dude? Well, yeah. See, in order for Darkseid's Omega effect to work, he must have X element absorbed into his body. And also, as menacing as Darkseid is, he fears his father more than anything. Yuga Khan, who I mentioned at the beginning of this video, is the one being in the universe far more powerful and evil than Darkseid. He's more cruel towards Darkseid than Darkseid is to any of his own children. So Darkseid and all the new gods are also vulnerable to a substance called Radion. Now, the average new god can be taken out by a Radion blaster or Radion bomb. Darkseid has been known to take 2 hits and survive, however. So you're gonna need quite a bit if you're gonna go take him down. Number 10, avatar creation. Sometimes you wish you could be in 2 places at once, and if your name's Darkseid, ho, do I have a treat for you, my friend. One of the many fantastic abilities Darkseid has is called avatar creation. That's right, if he concentrates so hard, he can create a DVD Blu-ray copy of the movie Avatar. No, he can make copies of himself, and he does so in New Gods Volume 4, Issue 15. So these avatars can be projected wherever Darkseid chooses, no matter where his true physical form is. He just has to divide his focus. Easy peasy. Now, this sounds like an unfair advantage, but the other version of himself, the Avatar, is much weaker than Darkseid's true form. Now, these avatars are still pretty strong though, okay? So just because it's created out of divided attention from Darkseid doesn't mean that it's an easy battle. And before we head over to number 9, we just wanted to ask you guys to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, because those clicks really do add up and they help us a lot here at our studio. So thank you so much for your support. Okay, now back to some more Darkseid facts you need to know. Number 9, size alteration. So he says he's a touch insulted that Superman showed up to a fight without the help of the Justice League of America. He expected the whole crew to rain down on him at once. So at times like this, when Darkseid is overpowered or somehow matched in terms of size, like in this issue, Jimmy Olsen obtained the powers all the new gods, but luckily for Darkseid, he has the ability to alter his size and become even bigger and even more threatening to match Jimmy. He just adapts to the battle, it's great. And in Constantine issue 22, we see Darkseid use this ability yet again when he stretches an enlarged hand towards refugees from Earth 2, when Constantine is trying to transport them to safety in another universe. He's like, nope. He's got a massive hand, big old hand. He could win any thumb war with that hand. Number 8, cosmic awareness and connections. Darkseid can understand how the universe works on a cosmic level. He's cool like that. So in Countdown issue 9, he says his vision extends beyond the known realities. Yes, all things must end according to Darkseid. Spoiler alert. He can control others, like in Countdown issue 3, he used Jimmy Olsen as a vessel. And this is more than just knowing that the multiverse exists too. Like in the Snyder Cut, we hear the multiverse referenced, but in order to have cosmic awareness, the individual has to have a distant connection to the world outside of theirs. You can't just be like, I've heard of that. No, you have to know some people in the club to get into the club. It's one of those cool clubs, you know? Other characters like the Phantom Stranger and the Guardians of the Universe possess this ability to a certain degree. So Darkseid, having turned 100,000 planets to dust, it certainly helps having this as an ability.
All of existence shall be mine.
Number 7, he can fight. Yeah, one of the biggest questions that fans like to ask, me included, I've asked this before, is who would win in a fight, Darkseid or Thanos' Sans Gauntlet? Okay, hi, I'm gonna go ahead and say Darkseid. That's the only answer from here on out. So if you're watching this, you now know how to answer that question. Great, so many haters in the comments like, no contest, dude. He's a highly trained apocalyptic warrior, thousands of years of experience. He can hold his own against Superman, and in Orion issue 5, he went toe-to-toe with his own son. This guy's so confident in his abilities that he actually chooses not to fight somebody hand to hand unless he thinks that they're a worthy opponent. That is some big energy. So if you're not a worthy opponent, he won't even feel the need to break a sweat. He'll just send out his servants to defeat his enemies for him. So whenever he needs to use hand-to-hand combat, his strength makes him incomparable. He's crushed a lantern ring in his hands at one point. You don't want to mess with him. Number 6. He fears his father. He made his debut in the New Gods issue 17 back in the early 90s. He was the former patriarch of Apocalypse and he was its first ruler. He was the most powerful being in the universe who had the most powerful empire in the universe, yet he wanted more. Greedy little man. He also wanted absolute knowledge and power within it. The Source Wall is a solid barrier surrounding the multiverse, and he attempted to breach this wall, but failed. See, even his strength wasn't enough. As a result, Yuga Khan became one of the celestial giants trapped in the Promethean galaxy for thousands of years, with no phone, no Angry Birds. He was so bored. During this is when Darkseid took the throne for himself after his mother Higra had passed away. So since he has control over the Source, he can actually neutralize all Source-based powers to a degree, like a mother box or boom tubes or his son's Omega effect, which I touched base on in a previous video. So if you haven't checked that out, you know what to do next. Number 5. Grail. She made her first comic book debut in Justice League Volume 2 issue 40 in 2015. I guess I would say she's still pretty new, but she's the daughter of Darkseid, and she was born at the exact same time as Wonder Woman in Divergence issue 1. The Amazonian assassin Marina gave birth to Grail in secret with the help from Penelope and Menelope. So Marina had to defend her child because Penelope heard the prophecy from Menelope that this young girl would cause mass destructions when she grew up. Talk about a horoscope. So Marina took Menelope out. She wasn't a concern anymore. She got rid of her. And then afterwards, Marina left Themyscira with her daughter, making it the first time that an Amazon has left the island. So in Justice League Volume 2 issue 40, Grail teamed up with the Anti-Monitor and declared war on her own father. Number 4. He's got a sick sense of humor. This next one is actually in canon. It's weird and really terrifying. So in Action Comics 593, you wouldn't expect Darkseid to be part of this just by looking at the cover, but here he is. So Mr. Miracle goes home and he finds Darkseid sitting on his couch. So terrifying. And so Mr. Miracle immediately asks where Barda is, and Darkseid gives him a tape to play, which is the scariest thing ever. I'd rather get handed a tape from Jigsaw, honestly, over Darkseid. Anyway, so he clicks play and he sees Big Barda dancing for sleaze. And when we're not talking about like TikTok dances here, it's implied that it's a bit romantic, if I can say that. So Big Barda and Superman were both captured by Sleaze, who is a god exiled from Apocalypse with mind control abilities, and he had Barda and Superman make a home video, like a home video. So the idea was that the tape could accumulate so much money that he could buy an army with that money and then go against Darkseid. So when Darkseid finds out about this, he delivers the tape himself and he grabs a drink while he does it, just like James Bond style. He's not fazed at all. And of all the people to walk in and see sitting on your couch, this has got to be the worst. Number 3, he's fast. It may come as a shocker given his size and body language and everything about him, but Darkseid is actually quite fast. He's not as quick as speedsters usually, like the Flash or Superman, but he's been known to be right behind them in battle, often surprising them. He has superhuman reflexes, so if you're trying to take a shot at him, you better keep it at the whole millisecond range or else he'll catch wind of it. And in Superman Batman Apocalypse, he's actually multiple times faster than light, so this ability varies from time to time. He could pop up on one side of the universe from the other, and then when Superman punches him hundreds of times in the blink of an eye, he was able to meet him and stop a punch. Now if he doesn't feel like moving at super speed, he can always send his trusty Omega beams. Those are quite fast as well. Number 2, telepathy. That's right, Darkseid knows your fear because he can feel it. He can read your mind. So if you're doing the thing where you imagine somebody naked while you're talking to them in order to relax more, he's gonna know about it, probably. In Wonder Woman Volume 2, issue 173, we see Darkseid control and access the minds of others. He can also attack or invade somebody's mind with images. He can make pop-ups happen in your head, probably. How scary is that? And in Superman Batman issue 12, we see Darkseid's mind games play on when he uses Supergirl as a vessel. It's crazy. And finally, coming in at number 1, Kalibak. The second in command, another son of Darkseid, Kalibak. He made his first appearance in New Gods issue 1, and Kalibak was often put against Orion, that other son that I mentioned earlier. When Kalibak was younger, his mother was taken out, like, by DCAU, who was following orders from Queen Hegra, Kalibak's grandmother. So we got a little Game of Thrones family going on here, that's cool. After Darkseid broke the Pact of Peace with the New Genesis, he aided his father in the resulting battles. And in his first appearance, he's going toe-to-toe with Orion. It took a few confrontations, but the two figured out that they were half-brothers the whole time. And after that point, Kalibak's hatred for Orion reached a whole new level. It also didn't help that Darkseid favored Orion. He favored his firstborn. Now that is a villain. That's definitely a villain. Caliban confronted Orion without Darkseid's consent once, and the plan went south. Like he had to take out DCAU, Darkseid's other right-hand man, so then when Darkseid found out about it, he turned Caliban to dust as a punishment. Yeah, instead of taking away his phone. After some time passed, he resurrected him. That's crazy. Imagine getting blipped away by your own family. How rude.